We are a week removed from the plague that has been released upon our streaming households in the form of Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. And, well, conversation around the film has ranged from, oh my god, did you see how terrible that was? I can't believe I applauded Zack Snyder as some sort of a visionary filmmaker in the past. Was he ever any good? All the way to, what the hell is Rebel Moon? I don't know what you're talking about at all. Like, it has fallen off of a cliff. Snyder Files, okay, the cult of Snyder is absolutely beside themselves right now because nobody's seeing this stuff, bruh. It's trash. The world knows it's trash, and Zack can go ahead and cope as much as he wants by saying, that's alright, well, part 1 was just about as popular as Barbie anyways, and live with the reality that nobody likes your terrible, edgy Star Wars movie. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 2 underperforms as viewership drops in the first week on Netflix. Yeah, kind of anticipated it was going to have a big old debut. Wasn't it dominating Netflix? And everybody was like, saying wait for week 2 numbers, and oh yeah, they fell off hard. Despite skyrocketing to the top of Netflix's weekly viewing charts upon its release, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, the second entry in Zack Snyder's galactic saga, and if he has it his way, but by taking a look at the ratings, it's like not gonna have it this way. He wants to have his his 6-part trilogy. Make it make sense. Zack, you can barely make a film, okay? Don't even try to branch out into mathematics. Inspired by George Lucas's Star Wars. Listen, man, that name has been defiled enough by Disney. We don't need some out-of-focus hack continuing to crap on that man's chinless legacy. Snyder's Rebel Moon franchise is a darker, more mature. Have you looked at the script? Have you seen some of the clips that are out there? Do it, kill her! Or some of his slow-motion grain footage? 5 minutes of slow-motion grain harvesting. More mature, guys. More mature than The Empire Strikes Back. Are you having a laugh? Part 2 continues the saga story. Yeah, exactly. Of everybody sitting around in a circle telling their backstories that are all eerily similar. Debuted on April 19th, Rebel Moon Part 2 managed to secure just over 44 million viewing hours on its first 3 days. Yeah, so over the first weekend. Oh, so we're 2 weeks? We're 3 weeks removed. Oh man, when I said at the beginning we're just a couple of weeks removed from this plague, I guess it must have just done some weird time dilation stuff. Zack, why do you continue to just ruin the universe? This already posed problems for Snyder's newest saga, as the film underperformed in comparison to its predecessor, which earned 54 million in the same length of time. Rebel Moon's problems continued as its viewing figures dropped to 38.8 million viewing hours between April 22nd and 28th, the film's full first week on Netflix. Oh, so I was right. My mistake. See, dealing with Zack, it's just, things are weird. All the way around, the entire thing. Part 2's viewing figures are comparable to Netflix's recent original rom-com Irish Wish, starring Lindsay Lohan. Zack Snyder, who signed this multi-film exclusive deal with Netflix. Hundreds of millions of dollars given to this absolute hack. The parts 1 and 2 of Rebel Moon costing somewhere in the ballpark of $160 million, doing about the same numbers as a drunk-ass Lindsay Lohan rom-com. How's your god? How's Snyder doing now? While the figures are similar, Irish Wish was made on a fraction of the budget of Zack Snyder's CGI, slow motion, bereft of writing sci-fi epic. Just a few days after the figures were collected on Netflix, Rebel Moon's position in the streamer's top 10 chart had dropped significantly between the 22nd and 28th of April. Snyder's film firmly held second place behind the 2023 hit rom-com Anyone But You. It's mostly bolstered for 2 very obvious Sydney Sweeney-centered reasons. However, Part 2 currently sits at 7th place on the Netflix charts. Anyone But You still holds the top spot. The Miller Girls, Smurfs, Act Your Health, The Secret to Your Gut, What a Gut Microbiome, Biography, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and King Richard. Oh man, guys, Zack Snyder got beat by a dick. He got beat by Sydney Sweeney's titties, Super Mario Brothers, and King Dick. I mean, you think you're going to be getting that double trilogy? Sadly for Snyder fans, yeah, they're really just, they're really beside themselves at this point. Rebel Moon's problems are bigger than just its viewing figures, as well as underwhelming viewership. Both films were met with scathing, whatever you want to say, with Rebel Moon Part 1 and Part 2 sitting at 21 and 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, respectively. Now, normally, okay, because if you guys are following along with what I like to cover, okay, you know that I'm a big champion of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and for the numbers that we have out there, hasn't been selling all that well. Do we have any concrete numbers? No, not really, and these are, of course, just self-reports from Netflix, so who actually knows how bad the damage is? So just because something isn't necessarily popular with the people doesn't necessarily mean that it's not of high quality. But I can, point to the reviews. We can simply point to the Metacritic reviews of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and see that they're above 9 in both the critic and in the fan category, and go, yeah, the people that played it, the people that have a PS5, they really like what they're playing, as opposed to, the biggest streaming service that's out there. The fact that the second week drop off was so immense, and that nobody's sticking up for this stuff outside of the people stuck in the cult of Snyder. I mean, it's just time to cut tail and run. But don't worry, guys, the Snyder Cut's gonna fix everything. Because is this coming out? Because I'm almost tempted. I am almost tempted to watch these stupid ass director's cuts that are just supposed to be R-rated and actually Snyder's vision, because we all know that Justice League was improved because of it. And oh right, it didn't perform as well as the atrocious Wonder Woman 84. Like, let's go ahead and cast our minds back to the beginning of all this nonsense. The more leeway Snyder has on his projects, the worse they are. Can we just come to that realization? Like, for the people that'll hold up 300, okay, Watchmen, which I hate a lot, Dawn of the Dead, you take a look at what he was doing. He was simply the director. He wasn't the director of photography. He wasn't the writer on any of this stuff. Hell, he wasn't even coming up with new concepts on this. You want to take a look at some of the stuff that he was releasing at the time that was derided for the exact same reasons that Army of the Dead and Rebel Moon are being criticized for. Take a look at Sucker Punch. But guys, he can fix that one with a Snyder cut. Shut up with your cope. It's pathetic. But with stupid bloated Justice League Snyder cut, for one, nobody was finishing that 4-hour dumpster fire. And two, it was ranking behind Wonder Woman 1984, which is a legendary bomb that cost Patty Jenkins her job at DC. 1.8 million HBO Max households tuned in for at least 5 minutes of Snyder's Justice League in its premiere. That figure ranks behind the 2.2 million households that watched Wonder Woman 1984 over, Christmas in 2021, or 2020 rather, that came out. And then, the Snyder Cut came out 4 months later, and that had way more publicity than Snyder's Justice League. So he's not popular. Like, why Netflix gave him this big deal to begin with, and why he thinks, and why the Snyder sycophants are out there thinking that, don't worry guys, the director's cut is going to make everything better. It's insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Just the only thing that this is going to do, it's going to have more blood, it's going to have more violence, and, maybe some titties popping out. It's like, yeah, but it's still written in crayon by somebody that has to wear a helmet at all times when he's not being interviewed. The director's cut of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, has seemingly gotten a new title and an official R rating ahead of its Netflix release. When is this coming out? Because I've heard that these have been threatened for a long time. The first part of Snyder's sci-fi saga appeared on Film Rating website. Yes, the alternative title of Rebel Moon Chapter 1, Chalice of Blood. Oh, he's such an edgelord. For the director's cut, is also rated R for brutal, bloody violence and gore, sexual content, graphic nudity, and language. Oh my god, this sounds like something that a 14-year-old who unironically jacks off in the mirror to himself, that's what he would write. Oh, I just described Zack Snyder. Just instead of being an edgy 14-year-old, he's a nearly 60-year-old edgelord. Snyder has teased the R-rated director's cut of Rebel Moon for quite some time. It's the first official confirmation the MPAA has deemed it worthy of an R. Oh yeah, that's going to be so cool because, guys, that's what mature people do. They watch mature movies that are rated R. The director previously said the extended, more adult version is fun and subversive because an R-rated sci-fi movie on the scale shouldn't exist. Yeah, I agree with him on that one. It definitely shouldn't exist. But it's releasing this summer, so we don't even have a concrete release date on this. Oh, man. Don't worry, guys. It's going to be edgy. It's going to fix all the problems. It's going to fix all of the wafer-thin characters that were on there. It's going to have more cringe line deliveries. It's going to have more open, unhinged jaw screams. I can't wait. It's going to be AIDS. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.